All right, we're back to the show we go. I'm hosting today, me, Ed Hand. I'm on with Parker. I'm on with Andrew Parker, but he's not hosting. I'm hosting. So it's good to be here. It's good to be here. This is a big deal for me for a couple of reasons, aside from the hosting, because we've got one of the first players that really came on with me back when I was on Pesky Report, came back on with us again, despite being traded from the Red Sox. And now he's coming back on with us again as a member of two MLB teams now. Very briefly with the Milwaukee Brewers, and then a little bit more with the Colorado Rockies. We've got Bradley Blalock back with us. How are you doing today, Bradley?
I'm good. Just getting ready to go here in a couple weeks out to Arizona. But thanks for having me on.
Oh no, we're ecstatic to have you back. And it was a cool season, I think, for you. Because so you got, if I'm remembering this correctly, you were on the Brewers 40-man roster. You got called up to the majors initially, straight from Double A, but then you didn't get in a game and they brought you back down. Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah, that's for sure correct. I think it was end of May. We were on the bus back from Jackson, Mississippi after having a series there, and get the call that I'm going to the big leagues on a Monday, and so fly out of Biloxi, go down to Miami. I get told I'm going to be an emergency guy, and was there for 3 days and got to kind of experience what it was like to be a big leaguer for a couple of days and just kind of get used to that environment.
What was this whole experience like? I mean, they told did they were they dramatic about it? I've heard sometimes when they tell guys they kind of fake them out and like they're in trouble or something, and then they tell them that they're going to the big leagues. Like how did they tell you?
Yeah, so we were on the bus back from playing the Braves in Double A, and I was just sitting there on my phone, and the pitching coach walks back, and he's like, "Hey, are you getting a call? Is somebody trying to like FaceTime you?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "All right, hold on a second." Well, then the manager uh FaceTimes me, and he's like, "Hey man, like what are you doing on the bus?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just chilling watching I was watching TikToks, I think." As everyone does nowadays, but then he's like, "All right, well, when you get back, pack your bags because you're going to Miami tomorrow." So that was kind of pretty cool. And then I think I was supposed to start on the Tuesday in Biloxi, and so my parents were coming down. They were on the drive, and they had like an hour left in the drive. And I called them, and I was like, "Hey, uh, I'm not pitching." I was like, "I'm not pitching this week." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I was like, I'm going to the big leagues tomorrow. So then they were ecstatic, but then they're like, all right, we'll figure out what to do. And they turned around and drove all the way back home and then flew out to Miami. Yeah, flew out to Miami the next day.
How far of a drive was that for them?
Uh, I I think it's about 6 hours to Biloxi, so it's not that bad. But they were probably in the car for 10 or 11 hours that day.
Oh man, but imagine the conversation on the way back. They're like, "Yeah, you're turning around, but like your kid's going to the big leagues, and your
Right.
kid's skipping AAA to go to the big leagues." Like that's were you was this something that was even in the back of your mind that it might be a possibility?
Not really. Because I'd been pitching good. I knew to start the year, I think I had like 17 innings or 18 innings scoreless to start the year in Double A. So I was just like, okay, like I'm just gonna keep trying to stay on this and keep pitching my best and making impressions. And then, kind of whenever I got that call, I was kind of shocked, like, did this really happen? Because I wasn't expecting it at all. But going into it, I had a feeling that it could happen because in spring training, whenever you have like the meeting with the coordinators, just talking about where you're going to go for the year, they're like, "Yeah, you're going to go to Double A," which I was expecting, and they were talking about how a bunch of people had come out of the Southern League and just went straight to the big leagues, like Yuri Perez with the Marlins, and then Vaughn Grissom with the Red Sox now, is it? But when he's with the Braves, and then Michael Harris did the same thing. So they're kind of just throwing those names out there, and they're like, if you just do what you need to do, that could be you. So that they kind of had thrown that in the back of my mind.
So you knew it was a little bit there that so 3 days you go back to like it was you knew it was going to be like a short term promotion, I'm assuming. But did
Right.
that were you kind of Like how did you feel going back down after 3 days? Was that like a gut punch, or were you like, hey, I made it up at least? Like now I just have to get back there. Like how do you process that?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a good experience. Got to be around the guys and just hang out with them and take in what they do each and every day up there. Then when I went back down, I kind of felt like I had a higher expectation put on me because I just got called up even though I didn't pitch, and kind of led me to a little bit of a struggle in the month of June pitching, kind of getting hit around a little bit and not making it. I don't think I made it past 3 or 4 innings in majority of my starts there in June, but we were just kind of stay on that mental side of the game and just think about going back to having fun and just knowing I belong there.
Yeah, yeah. Then you got called back up again though for the Brewers, right?
Yeah, I was definitely not expecting that. When I got called back up, we were in Rocket City, and I was sitting there uh, in the room with my roommate, and we had an interim manager at the time because our manager he had a little bit of health issues that he was trying to deal with, and so I got a different number phone call, and I was like, oh, this is from the Dominican Republic. Like, who's calling me from the Dominican Republic right now? I was like, oh, I'll answer it. And it was like midnight, and I was about to put my phone down, and so I answered. I'm like, hello. He's like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I was about to go to sleep. Like, you just called me at the right time because we had a tea time the next morning at like 7 a.m. before we were going to the
Oh
field.
no.
And so I was like, oh, I'm just about to go to sleep. He's like, uh, this is the first time I get to do it. I'm excited. You're packing your stuff up. You're going to the big leagues tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay. So the next, I flew out of Rocket City and went to LA. The Brewers were playing the Angels, and then get there and I'm in the bullpen. I just sit there that day, kind of just. I was eating sunflower seeds, and one of the bullpen guys looks at me and is like, "Are you okay? Like, why are you eating so many seeds?" I was like, "I'm just sitting here, like, watching the game, just trying to waste my time, get while the game's going on, and be ready if my name was going to get called." And he just started laughing at me. And then eventually, the next day, we were in San Diego, and then that's when I got to debut.
Yeah, so you got into exactly one game with the Brewers, and you didn't give up any runs. You walked a guy, but you didn't give up any runs or anything. You didn't give up any hits. How did that? Do you remember the first batter still and
I,
everything and how that inning went down?
I do. I'll start it from the beginning because I was in the we were it was the top of the eighth. They called down to the bullpen. I think we were losing like 6-2 at this time. Called down to the bullpen. They're like, "Hey, get Blalock going, and also get Peguero going just in case like it becomes a close game." Well, the Brewers at the time we start hitting. We get runners on first and second. They call back down. They're like, "Hey, tell Blalock to slow down and get Peguero hot." And I'm like, "Oh gosh, we got one out." They're like, if we score, I think it was 6-4 or something when they called down. They're like, if we score one more, then Peguero's in the game and Blaylock's not in the game. And I was like, oh, this is how it's gonna go, huh? Well, then I'm just tossing. I was ready to go at the time, and then we had a runner on second, 2 outs, I think, and then they fly out, and I'm like, oh, this is really happening. So in San Diego, you're up in the top bullpen up there in left field. I'm like holding on to the step rail on both sides, like, okay, let me not fall down these stairs going into the game. And then I go out there, and it kind of the jog in kind of settled the nerves a little bit. But yeah, I think I faced David Peralta was my first at bat, and he had a long fly ball to right center, and I was like, oh, that was different. Just like the sound of the bat, like you could just tell it was different from down in Double A. But then I get a ground ball to third base from Campanero, and the third baseman makes a ridiculous play, throws him out at first, and then I walked Toy-Son Kim, and then I got Luis Ariz to ground out to first base.
It's a pretty. I mean, that's not. Those are some pretty decent hitters there. Rise won his third straight batting title. Like
Yeah,
that's
batting champ.
not exactly
Yeah.
the easiest part of the lineup to go through. Like, how high is the adrenaline for you during this? Is it different than pitching? Like, I guess the way that it feels for you is, does it feel very different than how it was pitching in the minors?
I think so a little bit, just because you got 46,000 people there, sold out crowd, tight game in the late innings. You've been throwing with the minor league ball all season, and then you just flip the switch to a big league ball, and it's different. As everyone says, it's a little harder, laces are a little tighter. So I threw a couple pitches, I threw a couple split changeups, and they kind of just slipped out of my hand and left up and arm side. So it's like, okay, I got to figure out how to get that down in the zone. But otherwise, I thought it was good. I thought after the first couple pitches, I thought I settled in a little bit better there.
So you picked up a win in Yankee Stadium. It was your only big league win this year. So can you kind of tell me what it was like pitching in Yankee Stadium and getting a win that day?
Yeah, that was definitely exciting. We got there the night we had a game there the night before, so I kind of got to experience it a little bit there in the dugout, kind of take everything in. So that then the next day it was just I knew I'd just be able to go out there and pitch. But it was Old Timers Day at Yankee Stadium, so they had everybody there. A-Rod, Jeter, so that was pretty cool. Just to while you're warming up, get to look up on the video board and you just see all those big time names up there. But I thought it was pretty good. I thought I pitched decent enough to where I could get the win. Kind of gave up that one home run to the Red Sox legend Verdugo on a hanging curveball. But otherwise, I thought I pitched good. Defense made some plays behind me, and our guys put up some runs, which that's always you always love just to see that when you're up there on the mound.
Yeah, so neglecting to mention here, prior to this, you weren't with the Brewers when you were at Yankee Stadium. You had the one game with the Brewers, and then you got traded to the Rockies, I believe.
Right.
Was it exactly at the deadline, or was it like a little bit before that?
It was a couple days before. I think it was the Saturday, but the 27th of July. So the Saturday before the deadline, and got to fly out all the way to Arizona to fly back to Philly to pitch in Reading. So that was pretty cool.
Was this because this is the second time that you've been traded? You were traded for Luis Urias the year before,
right?
Is it basically the same thing, or is it the same, or was this different than the first time you got traded?
I definitely thought it was different. Kind of going into last year, whenever I got traded from the Red Sox, I kind of had a little bit of a feeling that I could get traded if I pitched good, just because it was my Rule 5 year. And then that eventually happened. And then I was literally I threw a bullpen on the day I got traded this year, and I went to work out. And I was literally talking to the strength coach, and I was like, last year I kind of had this gut feeling, like deep gut feeling that I was going to get traded. And he was like, do you think you're going to get traded this year? And about the time I was going to say, I kind of had the same feeling a little bit. The manager came out and was like, hey, we need to talk. And I was like, I said, I just got traded, didn't I? And he was like, yes, you did. So I was like, okay, that was quick. That was kind of weird, but I definitely thought it was different. Kind of knew what to expect going into it. Because last year it was like, you're going to meet new people. You didn't know who they were, how they treat people. And it was like, I was a little nervous, but this year it's like, okay, I'm just going to go be me and I'll be fine.
That's interesting though. So was it just like a gut feeling, or had you heard people talking, or like how? I guess why did you have that feeling?
In the clubhouse, one of my good buddies, Jacob Mizorowski, he was always just joking around. Oh, you're gonna get traded. Oh, you're gonna get traded. And I was like, no. And then it happened, and he was just laughing. And whenever I came in there, I was like, oh, I got traded. He was just dying laughing. He was like, I didn't mean it for real.
Now, did you know that you were going to because you got called up in August pretty quickly? You were in the rotation for a pretty decent amount of the rest of the season. After that, I'm just looking at the numbers right now. You made 6 starts from August 12th to September 10th. Did you know that opportunity was going to be there when you were sent over?
Not out the get go. I kind of knew I kind of had some expectations going into it just because new org, and I was like, okay, I have a chance if I can keep pitching good because I had pitched good in the month of July. Then I got sent. I went to Hartford, Connecticut. Didn't actually get to go there, but made 2 starts in Hartford. And after my second one, they're like, "Hey," the next day they're like, "Hey, we're gonna get you ready to start in the big leagues on Monday. Like someone just got hurt. Like you're the next guy up." And I was like, "Okay." And they asked me if I want to throw my bullpen on a Friday or a Saturday, and I was like, "Oh, I'll throw it a Saturday, throw a light one." Well, then I thought about it that night, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just." And I went in to the pitching coach. I was like, "Hey, I want to throw my bullpen on today to be ready." He's like, change of plans. Change of plans. Like you're gonna pitch down here on a Wednesday." I was like, "Okay, sounds good." Well, then I threw a 30 pitch bullpen on Saturday, kind of just getting after it a little bit, kind of working on some things. And then that night, got the call into the manager's office or manager's hotel room. He was like, "Hey, you're going to a pitch in the big leagues on Monday." So I was a little kind of upset that I'd thrown 30 pitches, but I knew I was like, okay, I'm gonna be able to recover all day tomorrow to be ready to throw on Monday. And so I was ready. I was ready to go. I was ecstatic on that
It,
Monday in Arizona.
yeah, I mean, you went reasonably deep into the game. You got through 5 2/3, so you gave up. It was 3 runs, so you were an out away from getting the quality start there. Didn't walk anyone, struck out 4. Did it feel like more or less pressure than that first outing you had with the
The
against the
Brewers.
Padres? Yeah, with the
Uh,
Brewers.
I don't know. I felt a little bit more comfortable. I guess I could say. Just had been up there a couple times, so I kind of had a good expectation. I kind of watched this when I was up there, even though with the Brewers I was in the bullpen. I kind of watched how the starters went about their stuff throughout the day, and kind of had my routine that I knew I was going to need to get through that day to be ready to pitch to start, as I had done all year. So I kind of felt comfortable in sense because I'd been doing it. I've been doing it all my life, and so I was. I think I was comfortable. The nerves were calm, and I was just ready to go out there and compete.
I actually have a little bit of a funny story for you. But when we had you on last off season, the very next episode, we actually had on Rockies pitcher Nick Mears. And it ends up you guys got traded for each other.
Great,
But
right?
what I was getting to, though, was he had kind of told us a story about, obviously he had pitched in Colorado the year before. And, he was just like, yeah, pitching out of the bullpen in Colorado, man. Like, I'm winded when I get to the mound. And then they already got the clock running and everything. Did you notice anything about the elevation when you were out there?
Oh, not. I don't know. I think everyone puts it up to a higher expectation than it really is, and just like so
I
you
agree.
expect it to be more. But I felt like I didn't really uh, feel a difference. Luckily, I had one of the starting pitchers watched my bullpen. I threw my first or after my first start, I threw a bullpen up there in Colorado. Luckily, before my first start in Colorado, so he was watching it, and he afterwards he was like, "Hey, when you're out there on the mound, just your stuff's not going to break as much as it would at a lower elevation. So just aim a little smaller." So I kind of had that expectation going into it of what I needed to do. So it kind of helped me.
That's interesting. Was it hard for you to do that to kind of change the way that you had been throwing?
Not really. It was just I just needed to lower my targets just a touch more. Um, but otherwise, I thought everything was playing pretty good. I just need to hit my location and my spot. Just have my command up, especially up in Colorado.
Now, your parents were on their way to watch you pitch in that Double-A game. Did they get to see you pitch in the majors at all?
They did. They actually. I think they made it to every appearance except one in
Oh,
Detroit.
wow.
So luckily, I was able to have them there.
So they got to see the game against the Yankees then.
Yes, they did. I had they were there, and one of my best friends from high school and his dad were there, and then my dad's best friend and his wife were there, and then my cousin actually came up because he was like, "Oh, you're pitching in Yankee Stadium. I'm gonna come up and watch." So I got
Oh
to
my
everyone got to
gosh.
see that. I had after the Yankees. Was it after the Yankees? I actually pitched in Atlanta, so that was pretty cool. Got to pitch against the Braves and have everyone there. I think there was like close to 250 people there watching.
Oh
Sheesh.
wow.
Yeah.
That's like I remember Zach Kelly telling us about how when he was rehabbing in Salem, he had like everybody show up and from Roanoke show up there for it. But that's I mean
Right.
that's it's a little different between like single A and the majors. And I mean you grew up going to Braves games, right? Like that's
Yeah.
what's that like? I guess when you go from being in the crowd as a kid and suddenly you're on the mound there. I mean, did you kind of have that like almost like a flashback to being a fan in the stands at all?
Yeah, actually, I had one in Yankee Stadium too because when I was 12 years old, we got to go up and play in Cooperstown at the Dreams Park they have there. So afterwards, my basically my whole team went to New York City and we watched the Yankees game in the bleachers out in left field. So that was the remembrance there, and it was kind of pretty cool to be out on the field after watching it there. But in Atlanta, it was pretty fun. Nervous. That was probably the most nervous I was this year because like everyone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna come," telling my parents, and I kind of knew how many people were gonna be there, so that was always there. But it didn't hit me until I walked out of the dugout to go out to the outfield and stretch, and everyone's like yelling my name and cheering, and I look over and it's like there's like two sections of people, and I'm just like, holy cow. So kind of had a I had a rough first inning in Atlanta, gave up 4 runs, but then settled it in and put up 4 zeros after that.
I mean, it's not a bad lineup to do that against either. But while we're kind of on like we've been talking a lot about you made your MLB debut this year and everything, and I had one of your fellow draft classmates from the Red Sox on this program about a week or two ago, Ryan Zefferjon.
Okay.
And he's a guy that obviously just made his MLB debut this past season, and
Right.
he got to pitch in Kansas City with the Angels whenever he got up and everything, and he was kind of talking about the homecoming and everything. It's only three of you guys in the 2019 Red Sox draft class that have made the pros. Now it's you, Zefferjon, and Chris Murphy. Looking back at it now, like, is it everything that you kind of thought the whole journey from getting drafted, as late of a round as you did in 2019 and being in the professionals now, and there's only three of you guys that did it? Like, has that kind of sunk in yet?
Yeah, it definitely has because I mean, as everyone knows now, there's only 20 rounds. So I mean, say I was drafted, say I was going to be coming out of high school the year later. I mean, it was 5 rounds. I mean, I wouldn't even have the opportunity. So I, yes, all three of us have made it, and me and Zeph were close with the Red Sox. I mean, we lived together the last spring training for I think the last couple of weeks. So that was pretty cool, and pretty cool to see him get up there this year with the Angels and those guys, Nico, and so that was pretty cool. Just seeing them, but I think that it's definitely everything I've dreamed of. Just going through the process, and I knew I had a little bit of a um, I knew I was held to a little bit of a higher expectation because I was a 32nd round guy, and I had to work to get there. I wasn't like a first or second rounder where you kind of just most of those guys kind of guaranteed to get up there, but I knew I needed to work, and I was definitely excited to work every day, and I'm still excited to be able to be playing this game because not everyone's, as you said, that got drafted with us is able to still play.
I mean, it's beyond that too, because I mean, 2 years ago you were still rehabbing from the Tommy John. You've gone from that to two different organizations, but you're a big leaguer. Like that's like has this year have the last two seasons, I guess, felt like they've been longer than like the rest of your I mean like your high school career and your I mean just because so much has happened.
Yeah, this year especially. This is my first full season healthy because I got drafted in 19. We didn't have 2020. It was COVID year. 21 was a short season. Come into spring training 22, ready to go. Have Tommy John. And then last year, or 2023, I missed April and May of the season. So, and then I missed the last 3 weeks because I had pulled my oblique. But yeah, this year was definitely a toll. It was like I could feel at the end of the season that my body was wore out, but I was gonna do everything possible to work through it and be ready for every start or whenever my name was called.
So what? How has this offseason been different for you then? Since this is your first one really coming back, no oblique injury. You're
Right.
done with the rehab.
Yeah, this is probably my first full for real off season I've had since I've been drafted. No camps. Um, because normally I'm at camps, trying to just do stuff, work, get better for the next season. But yeah, this year I had my first full off season. It's kind of been long, I guess. I took 6 weeks off of throwing right after the season just to shut down and let the arm rest. But ramping it back up. Oh, we've been ramping it back up and kind of been off the mound Friday and Tuesday, so we're getting it going.
So what have you been up to now that you're a healthy guy, you're going through a normal off season for the first time since you were drafted, which is crazy to think about. That was 6 years ago. Now we're in 2025. But what do you do in your free time?
Yeah, now I guess I was trying to swing the golf club and I haven't been playing that much recently. I need to start getting back into it because I know when I get out to Arizona, everyone's going to be wanting to play,
Oh
and
yeah.
I don't want to be that guy that's shanking balls to the right or to the left. But I've been able to just spend time with family, go visit my girlfriend down in Daytona because she goes to a chiropractic school down there, and then I've been able to go hunting a little bit more this off season.
No video games for you?
Here and there. I mean, it's tough. I don't know how everyone can play those all the time. I like in the season, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll bring my video games, and then I probably don't play it 95% of the time during the season.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like every time I ask a guy, like especially pitchers, it's like you're either golfing or you're playing video games. There's
Right.
no in between.
Right.
But it's yeah, you're the clock's ticking, man. You got to get back on the course before you get out to Arizona.
I know. I'm going to play tomorrow. It'll probably be like really bad. So I got some golf balls I found in the woods. I can just swing.
Ooh, okay. It's a little cold down there for golfing in Georgia right now.
Yeah. I'll just put on a hoodie and some pants and I'll be ready to go.
I have a random question here that I like asking some guys.
Is
That
this
I
the
don't think I
Canes of the
asked.
Zaxby's thing?
No, no.
I was still going
changed
to say
it.
Canes.
He's changed it.
I was going to say
We
Canes.
retired that question because it did not go well. Wait, you're a Georgia guy, so you're probably
Okay.
like the Georgia guys were the guys that I was the most upset with, by the way, because Zaxby's is Georgia.
Yeah, I guess it is, but
That's like
It
saying
is.
Boston Market's Boston, but like
No,
I don't
no,
like
no.
Boston Market.
that's like saying Starbucks or Dunkin', and then like a Boston person says Starbucks. Do you agree?
No, listen,
Because a Boston person should say Dunkin',
correct.
but they'll say Starbucks, and you're like, what? No way.
Okay, that's fair. But Zaxby's in the state of Georgia, I'll take this as I'll die on this hill. Like Zaxby's in the state of Georgia just tastes better. I don't know why.
If you find the right Zaxby's though.
Correct. I'm with
If
you.
you go to a bad one, then it's like, oh, this is
Okay.
bad chicken.
Because there was two in the whole state of Missouri, and I went to Mizzou, and my mom used to give me like $200 gift cards to Zaxby's at Christmas to like go to the Zaxby's, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty good, but down in Georgia, man, it's so much better. But it's not about chicken. I promise.
Okay.
My question here, it's kind of a tough question for some guys, but if you weren't playing professional baseball right now, what would you be doing with your life?
I'd hope I'd be graduated from college by now. Even though they got the little COVID and everything, I hope I wouldn't be playing for my 6th year. And I hope I'd be working in like some bit of I would get like a business degree so I could work somewhere like that. I like math. I like numbers, so I kind of like stuff like that. Um, Maybe coaching. I don't know, because that's what I would like to do. Maybe once my playing career is over, is get into coaching. I think that would be fun.
Do you envision yourself like coaching in like professional ball or like one of the like the treads and the
No,
the
no, no.
drive lines?
I think I would want to coach a high school team.
Ooh.
Crazy to think, but I think being able to say that I've played in the professional baseball world, and to have be a head coach and have my friends coach with me, I think that'd be fun. And then be able to use that I've coached there, and now with the NIL stuff, I could bring in some good kids, have a good team. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. He's
That'd
already
be
thought
fun.
about this.
Yeah, yeah, I have for sure.
I actually we had Conrad Kaysen on, who was drafted by
He's
the
from
Red Sox.
GAC.
Yeah,
Yep, he's from Georgia.
he's another Georgia kid, and I would like so he throws like 98 miles an hour. He was saying
Right.
he's dialed it back to 100 before, and I was like, I remember very well from this conversation being like, that's really impressive, and he was like, that's a 14-year-old that can throw 95. It's not that big of a deal, and it's like,
Right.
what are what's the competition there like that like there are 14-year-olds that are throwing that hard? That's like how
And he went to like a lower level school too. Like he went to like a lower classification, I should say. He went to a private school. So he didn't even really get to face the top tier of Georgia. Just think about that.
jeez.
Yeah,
So
he
like
didn't face off against the Bufords of the world.
Oh wait, Buford. Why are we saying Buford? You need to say Grayson.
I have family ties at Buford.
Oh well, they don't. A good thing. I hope they don't play football because of.
They did play football.
Oh, did they win
They
a
were
state
they
championship?
were graduating. They were in the same graduating class as Brandon Marsh.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So they did not win the state championship. They lost
But
to Trevor Lawrence, I think, twice in a row.
oh,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
tough.
I think Buford has like this high expectation just because they're Buford.
That's
But
fair.
they're not. They need to go. They're in the highest. They got moved up to the highest classification now, and I think they need to go back down to like 4A where they belong, so they can win stuff, and dominate.
Tough. It's tough. All right, sorry, I hijacked that question, Ed, but
oh no, I was just I it's just amazing. So because I'm from Boston where we're like we don't have any players that make it to the majors just about. There was like one kid from my high school that got there, but we don't have like you guys play year round down there, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
Texas
yeah.
and like in the South.
We
So
always
like
doing stuff around Christmas too, like winter workouts or something. So I know it gets a little snowy up there, so you can't really travel around.
no, you'd have people playing like baseball in the spring and then other
Yeah.
stuff in
But
the
also
fall if nobody was doubling up.
Baseball starts down here in January. It starts out there in like May. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah.
That's maybe not May, but like it's a lot later in the year. You can't throw here in February. You're gonna
Right, right. No, I
that's gonna be
agree.
a
I agree.
disaster.
I agree.
so I want to back up Ed's question here. So he was kind of
Okay.
asking about like the competition and stuff, but now that kind of leads me, I was talking about, Buford and Brandon Marsh and he brought up Conrad Kaysen when, we got to meet Brad Keller this year too, another Atlanta guy, but are you training with like any pro guys out there, or like do you ever see any of the guys? Like what is the scene like in the off season?
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple places I guess you could say that compete with each other down here. So
Ooh.
you got everyone knows Maven Sports, which is like what's there's like an Australian dude that pitched for the Braves, kind of sidearm guy.
Pete Moylan?
Yes, Peter
Pete
Moylan.
Moylan.
Peter Moylan and this guy named uh, Sean McLaughlin. They run this place called the Maven, and
Okay.
so they got force plates. They got all this technology, and it's a good spot, but costs a lot of money to go to. Not all the minor leaguers and everything have that much money to go there. And then you got Rapid, kind of up towards Kennesaw on that side of area. But I go to this place called Full Count. Conrad Kaysen he goes there, I think, sometimes. And then we got a guy with the Giants, a guy that just signed with the Twins, a couple guys with the Tigers, Rangers. we got a good group. So I mean, we got D-backs, Toronto. We got like a bunch of guys that we all got a relationship together, and we always go in there and have a good time, get our stuff done, and kind of compete with each other a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I was always curious about that because obviously, like, Georgia's a pretty hotbed for
Right.
that talent, especially at the major league level. And, I was kind of reading off some of those names. I'm like, I wonder if you guys like ever like bump into each other or train together or anything. Because I feel like the Atlanta area is like a good spot where it's like there's so many guys like from around that area that are now like being drafted and everything. So
yeah, I think there's a bunch of good places that around that kind of everyone kind of bounces around to.
Yeah, it's very, very different. I grew up in St. Louis, and I feel like there's only two. It's like you either have the one on the Illinois side and the one on the Missouri side, and it's like all the St. Louis guys. Like you only go to two spots, so it's like you're bound to be training with these guys.
Right.
Ed, I have one last question here. Do you want me to ask it, and then you can take us home?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so it's not a Zaxby's question here, but it's a food question, Bradley, and I feel like I already know one of your answers on this, but I retired the chicken question last year, and I just ask you for a Mount Rushmore question now. So I need your top 4, and it can be fast food or sit down of restaurant chains.
All right, Chick-fil-A.
It's basic.
Good pick.
You gotta have Chick-fil-A up there though.
Okay.
This is like a half thing. Okay, this one. It's called Chipotle / Diablo's, which is Diablo's is like Chick-fil-A, but it's I guess I don't know if it's everywhere. It's just around here. They got good quesadillas.
Ooh, okay.
I like Japanese restaurants, so I'll just put that up there. Hibachi, we'll say that.
Hibachi, just okay.
Oof.
I don't like this one so far.
And I'm gonna go Jersey Mike's.
Oh,
Ooh,
yes.
Interesting.
People sleep on the Mike's, man.
Jersey Mike's.
I like the ads
Mike's
for Jersey
way,
Mike's
no
a lot.
What'd you say?
The ads I like the ads with Danny DeVito for that a lot. Those are pretty those are pretty fantastic.
Jersey Mike's.
I feel like it's very slept on these days. I feel like people don't actually show it the love it needs.
I agree.
Okay.
Oh, I got one thing for you too, talking about how you went back and said you see everybody.
Yeah.
Like people around. I pitched in Detroit. It was my last start in the big leagues this year. High school teammate was the leadoff hitter.
Really?
Yeah. Parker Meadows.
Parker Meadows, yeah.
I was about to say, yeah.
First pitch. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this guy out. I don't think I ever got him out in high school. And then we did in 2020, we did these little live at bats at this place at where I trained at Full Count at the Sandlot, which is what we call, because all it was it was a baseball field, but all that was kept up was the mound. And then the hitters area, everything else was kind of beat up a little bit, but it was a fun place. Like we go out there and have live at bats. They got a fence out there. People would hit homers. But I got him out every time I faced him there. So I was like, okay, this is kind of even right now. So now I gotta get the expectation going that I'm gonna get you out every time. Throw first pitch of the game, high fastball, way out of the zone, ball. I'm like, all right, I need to get back in the zone. I'm gonna throw a fastball and just get it over the plate. Like he's gonna take right here, and he hits a home run down the right field line. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is how this game's gonna start right here. And then I think I walked him the next 2 times or something. And then he texted me the last at bat of the game that I faced him. He texted me after the game. Was like, sorry I did a home run off of you, but I thought you struck me out on my last at bat. It was funny. It was a good time though.
At least he's being humble.
Do you guys stay in touch generally, or was this just when you were playing each other?
Yeah, we text every once in a while and trying to stay in touch. So, but if I face him this year, I'm getting him out. He had a little good heat. I got him on I claim that I got him on a little heater for the playoffs because he got the record for the most hits or extra base hits or something in the playoffs for the Tigers. So I'm gonna claim that I got him going on that since he got the homer.
So what you're saying is he owes you some jersey mics for that.
Yeah, I think so.
That's fair.
So I got one last thing for you.
Okay.
We're gonna go back to the Rockies and just what are your expectations for this season? What are you what you're still on the 40-man roster there. You got as good a shot as anyone of making that rotation. Like, what are you expecting for the 2025 season?
Yeah, I'm going out here in 3 weeks. Get out there, get to working with the staff, pitching coach, bullpen coach, just to kind of get things dialed in just a little bit more, kind of get ready to go for the season. But go into spring training with an open mind and go out there and compete for a job. It's not going to be easy, but I'm gonna be ready and compete for a job. If it's in the rotation, if it's long relief, if it's a bullpen role, whatever, just to make the team to help them or help the Rockies just get it going this year and hopefully get there in a playoff spot because I think we got the talent. It's just we got the pieces, so hopefully those things will just come together because we could be a good team.
Yeah, well, looking forward to following your 2025, and thank you so much for coming back on with us. This is always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoy coming on here and talking with y'all. It's always a good time. Sorry, it's never Zaxby's. It's always Cane's. So.